Okay, class, so what you're doing is you're cutting 2 layers of this, you're fusing one side, and when you stitch, leave yourself an opening at the top, and you'll stitch all the way around, and then we're gonna turn this. So after it's been turned, you're going to, poke out your sides, get them nice and clean. I'll do this with a tool in a minute. And then you're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then another stitch at the edge. So it's gonna have 2 rows of stitching on this piece. But the first stitch that you do, it'll help close up this edge and everything will be clean. Now, if you were using a denim or a heavy fabric, instead of this being folded, you could do an overlock, and then that way when you put the flap on, this is clean finished, and you would just stitch that into place. Okay, but we're gonna do this with a clean all the way around. Now on your pocket, there's 2 sets of notches. So you see I've done with the contrast thread. You can use self thread, of course, for your garment. But this is matching the notches, straight line. And then after you do that, you're gonna press this flat. So the seam of the pleat is right in the middle. And then from there, we're going to turn this back, and I'm gonna stitch 1/4 inch around the edges, and that's gonna help me fold this into place right along the stitch seam. I will edge stitch this onto the garment, but first I'm gonna do, before I attach it to the garment, I'm gonna do 1/4 inch top stitch. So if you can follow me to the sewing machine, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And you have to have a piece of fabric that these are going to go on, that'll represent your garment. Hold on just a minute. Switch this over to this camera. You want to show that? Oh. The smaller one. Okay. Okay. So Jode says he makes these kind of pockets all the time, so he's done it before. Let me show you here what the finished piece will look like. Is 2 rows of stitching, so close to the edge and then in 1/4, and then the same look on this pocket. Now there's a couple of ways that that you can do this step. You can do a clean finished hem, you can overlock it, whatever gets you to finish those edges. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to first do a turn back hem just at 1/4 of an inch. But you could overlock it also. And then here's my pleat pressed flat, centered on the notch. I used a polyester, it's kind of spongy. And then I can, so just so that edge is clean finished. And then I can turn this back. Now this is one way of getting a nice crisp edge. So if I do this at 1/2 of an inch. Now on my flap, it's 1/4 inch seam allowance because I want my flap to be just a little bit wider than the pocket itself. But all this is doing is it's giving me a stay stitch. It's not really functioning as of yet. you like my nails? I just got them done. I haven't been to a professional salon in like a year and a half, so I'm all proud of my nails. I got my booster shot, so I felt safe. Okay. So now this is going to help me turn this without going to the iron. And before I do that, I want to put this hem into place. I've got that turned back to be clean, and I'm going to stitch across here just to hold everything in place. And now I can go ahead and place this on my garment. Now, if this were a production garment, I would have punch holes here to align my pocket with an awl. Have you guys learned that in your pattern class? Okay, so I would line these up with a punch hole, and I'm going to do this right on the edge. So this stitch that I made is going to help me keep this straight. Get to that section, I'll fold that under again on the stitch. And you want to do this as close to the edge as possible, because this is your actual holding stitch. I should have used cotton. This fabric's really spongy. Oops. Okay. Okay, and now for reinforcement, I'm going to come back around and do this at 1/4 of an inch in. And do another row of stitching, get into that corner. Now, in production, they probably do this with a twin needle. And if you wanted to, you could draw lines to follow as well, or you could just use your foot as your guide. And what this does is, by having these corners squared off, it really helps to reinforce the corners. Okay, so I haven't pressed this yet, but that'll press into place. And then with this one, I'll do the same thing. I'll outline with it on the edge stitch and then a 1/4 inch in. But the top part I'll leave for last. I won't stitch the top part until the very end. So let's do this. This thing is spongy. I wanted it to be red and I ran out of the red cotton. Okay. So this is at 1/4 of an inch first. This is just decorative, but it makes it so that it has a, you know, when you do a heavy duty pocket, a lot of extra stitching kind of adds to the design detail. Okay. So this kind of pocket can be on your skirt if you want to do this instead of the welt pocket. And your, I would make it a little bit bigger, of course. I think like this type of a pocket is handy with a flap if you want to put your cell phone or your wallet or something in it, not carry a purse. Okay, and then your last step would be to attach it. So this, if you don't want to do the overlock, this is a way to get the clean finish inside your flap. Okay, and you probably have garments like this where they use Velcro. You could do a buttonhole here. So whatever you decide to do to close it up, but that is a sample. And I'm gonna do, I'm gonna end up doing this on my skirt. This is where I went last week. You can go ahead and turn it off.